We walk, we talk, we gawk. This is All Walks of Film. I'm Ren.
I'm KC.
And today we're talking about Jurassic World.
Which we just saw. We did not see it opening weekend because we were busy on another movie.
Yeah, so we saw Mad Max again because we really didn't want to see any other movie until we saw that movie again.
Yeah, pretty much. And again in theaters, but that's a different review.
Right. So, I watched Jurassic Park.
A for awesome!
Hey, I'm talking about the original.
Yeah.
Okay.
A for awesome.
A for awesome. Yeah, I saw Jurassic Park when I was about 12 because my parents wouldn't let me watch it when it came out. Yeah, all the kids were talking about it, but I couldn't watch it because it was too violent, which, yeah, I mean, I get it. It is violent, but I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of things when I was little. So I watched it when I was older on VHS, and I loved it.
And depressed little child. I feel so bad for you.
Oh, now I just watch Serbian film and shit like that. So, yeah, upgrades. Anyways, but I actually saw the movie for the first time when I was 12. And then, like, right after I saw the movie, I read the book. And the book totally blew me away. And then I went back and watched the movie again. But, like, I actually didn't have as much love for it the second time because I had read the book. But the more and more I learned about special effects and such, the more and more I fell in love back with the movie. Right. You know, and the book is really good, and I highly encourage you to read it or listen to it. It's on Audible. This is not a plug to Audible, but I really like Audible. I'm not getting paid to talk about it, so, you know.
No, it just makes me laugh after watching Jurassic World, which was product placement after product placement after product placement. Though they didn't have permission to use Starbucks. They were very, very careful to hide the Starbucks logos and to blur out the Starbucks name, even though it was on set. So you knew it was Starbucks, but they couldn't actually show it.
Well,
which was interesting. Why that one out of all of them, but
Bryce Dallas Howard's character was drinking a Starbucks.
With a sleeve, very carefully hiding the logo.
Even though we could all see half the logo and knew exactly what it was.
But that's all you need to do. You just need to blur it out enough to where you can't see, like, half of it. That's all you need to do. But they were fine having Coke, Brooks Brother, Ben & Jerry's. They mentioned Pepsi. That scene was funny. They had a lot of product placement in that movie, but it honestly didn't feel that forced, except for the Coca-Cola one.
Right, but part of the movie is
because it would have been awkward if they didn't have it, now that I think about it.
Yeah, part of the movie breaks the fourth wall with that. There is a character that's in the control room that basically addresses the fact that, oh, why was Jurassic World made? Not the park itself, but the movie, because the Hollywood conglomerate said, hey, we need another Jurassic Park movie. We need to reboot the series. Hey, let's make Jurassic World. And
yeah, the Jurassic World movie was a very, not heavy-handed, but it was a very clear, how do you say?
Allegory?
No, criticism of commercialism in America.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the kids' brothers is, like, staring at his cell phone, like, half the fucking movie.
Well, I like that part. I like that stuff because that fed a lot into... There were a few different themes and messages in the movie. One of them that I really gravitated towards in a very Spielberg sort of way was the message of getting out of your stupid cell phone. Because everybody except for the little kid, they're distracted by phones, they're distracted by work, they're distracted by girls, and all this stupid, useless stuff that's not really connecting or making memories or anything. And then you have the one kid whose bedroom looked just like my bedroom when I was his age. I don't know how he was alive today in 2015 with a bedroom like that, but his room looked just like my room.
Well, it was a very it was a very controlled room. There were a lot of robots in the room, and I noticed a robot of Robbie the robot from...
Yes, Robbie the robot. No, there were star charts, solar systems, dinosaurs, robots. He had like a little picture finder, and he had a He had a poster of the one Atari game. The one that was also in Under the Skin, that one. Space Invaders. He had a poster of Space Invaders. Which,
I don't know about you, but I don't think a kid
today would have a Space Invaders poster. That was weird.
Yeah, so a little bit of the production design didn't make sense in the beginning.
No, it was a tribute to the E.T. era. It looked very much like if you walked into one of Elliot's friends' rooms, that's exactly what it would look like.
I will say one thing that made me really excited was they had a new CG Amblin opening where Elliot has like the flying costume and then he goes over the moon. I haven't seen that opening before, to my recollection, and I really liked it.
Cool. This movie, it really made me feel like a kid again. The beginning part of it did. After a while, it was really interesting sitting there watching it because the beginning really got my attention and made me feel like a kid when I would go to the Space Museum or I would go to the Natural History Museum or I would study about dinosaurs and that sort of thing. When the kid, I just want to call him Elliot now. I can't remember what his name is.
White kid number one.
No, what was the kid's name? They even said it a few times in the movie. I cannot remember his name. The little kid. The only kid in the movie. He's so wide-eyed and he knows all these different things and he has such an appetite for life and he just wants to run around, and it made me really feel like I was a kid and we could really see it from his perspective. But then as the movie went, it was kind of like growing up a little bit because it just got a little bit more gradually grown up, more violent, more just badass, awesome, cool shit that you like when you're older. But it was a really nice kind of interesting transition to sit down and go from being a little kid to being pretty much the age I am now because I'm a young adult to, in the space of a movie in terms of like the tone of it. I thought that was super smart.
So you're saying the film is an allegory to adulthood?
There were a lot of
childhood to adulthood?
No, it was just a theme in the movie. There were multiple themes throughout the movie, and I think that was one, sort of. Not even a theme, it was a tonal thing. I thought that was an interesting experience to feel in a movie. Although not quite as obvious as like sitting down and watching Boyhood, but it was kind of similar to that kind of experience.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really liked about this movie was this movie actually had some meat to it, actually had some topics, which is something not common with movies today. Like, there's one topic that might be an issue, but the movie never gets past one topic. So it's like, hey, with Under the Skin, it's about gender identity or as a woman. It's all about like women's issues and stuff like that. That's the only issue in the movie. And
it explores it very shallowly, too.
Yeah, but we're not going to talk about Under the Skin too much. I've already talked about it. You've already talked about it.
I like what you just said, though, because I thought that when I was in the theater, too, of, wow, it's interesting to see them very well balance multiple themes and messages.
Yeah, and it's what Spielberg did. It's what filmmakers of the past have done. And when I saw the trailer for Jurassic World, I'm going to say it. I know probably a lot of you were really excited, but I saw the trailer and went, okay, there's a character on a motorcycle riding around with raptors. I mean, it just seemed like a cash grab. It seemed like a shameless cash grab, like a shitty sequel that came out. And like, we already got 2 shitty fucking Jurassic Park sequels. Why do we need another one? And I know some of you probably might like The Lost World or whatever. I don't. So I'm really glad that there's a movie that, says, well, you like those movies? Well, you can have them, but they're not part of the canon.
Yeah, that was really interesting because I think that this movie was trying to set up that Jurassic Park happened the year it came out, and it has been as long as it's been since that movie came out till now. So I think they were trying to place both movies in real time.
Yeah, and
it's interesting. A lot of movies don't do that.
And some of the Godzilla movies have done that as well, where, the original Godzilla came out in 1954. He attacked in 1954, and the movies following are a result of Godzilla. That's more of like the Millennium era, and the Heisei period did a little bit of that.
Yeah, because there has been a lot of rewriting of the canon, even just from movie to movie. Not even like Heisei or Showa to Heisei to Millennium, but just movie to movie. It's just like, okay, wait, what is the canon this time?
Yeah, and for any of you who thought, wait, how are we getting to Godzilla to this? This movie is a kaiju movie.
Dude, I wish she had a name. I really do. But the Indominosaurus, or whatever it was called, she looked a lot like Zilla, the American Godzilla from '98, even down to being a chick. I thought, wow, you took like this cool design from a crap movie and just put it in a much better movie, but also made her a lot cooler.
Right, which there might be.
And did not call her Godzilla.
There might be something revealed to make it also like the Zilla movie, where like it gets revealed at some point that she laid eggs, and that's the sequel.
I don't think that's possible though, because she was in seclusion.
Well, it's kind of that whole thing about like there are
artificially inseminated her. That would have fit.
Iguanas can reproduce asexually.
Yeah, and we don't.
Sorry, no, not iguanas. I apologize, bad science. Komodo dragons can reproduce asexually when put in captivity.
Right, and we don't know everything that was put into her. We know some things. We know T-Rex, raptor, tree frog. There's one other thing I know that they put in her.
There was a cuttlefish, didn't they?
Cuttlefish, yeah, cuttlefish. So we know 4 things, but we really don't know everything.
Which is really interesting because they never explored anything with the cuttlefish. Because I don't know if you've seen the cuttlefish, but like it is fascinating to see what a cuttlefish does. Have you seen any of the stuff? Like it will literally mimic whatever's under them.
Oh, interesting.
Like, so if it's like a mound of rocks, you know, it will mimic the mound of rocks.
Right.
They tried to use more complex patterns, and that's kind of where it failed. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, it was really fascinating. Cuttlefish art. Fuck.
It would be really cool if they made...
Yeah.
If they had made a dinosaur splicing some of the genes from mantis shrimp. That would have been a badass predator, man. A dinosaur mantis shrimp. Holy shit. That's one cool thing about this movie is that since it introduced splicing and genetic redesign of dinosaurs, I think it'll be cool to see a lot of fan-made hybrids. It's kind of a cool platform for that. It would be really interesting if they ever did like official contests for that sort of thing. That'd be really neat. If they did like a My Little Pony thing where it's like, hey, we're going to open a thing, put in your design for like hybrid dinosaurs, and the winner will have a side part in our next movie. Like we'll be shown in a couple frames or something like that. That could be really neat. Hey,
a Stegalagon.
Yeah, it could be really cool to see something like that actually happen. That might be a really cool way to have the fans involved without giving them control. Don't do that.
I'm really curious because, like, where would a sequel even go in this universe?
I was thinking about that too, because
you know they're going to make...
World's done. I mean, the dinosaurs are there, but as a theme park, it's shut down.
Well, I guess they'll just approach it like they did the other films, which means that it won't be as exciting because...
I would be disappointed if they went the military route, if they kept that plot. But that seems to be where it was heading, because they took a whole bunch of samples specifically for the purpose of turning them into military weapons. And that subplot was the most boring part of the movie. It wasn't really bad, but just out of all the elements involved, that one was the one I was the least interested in. I don't really want to see a whole movie of that.
I thought it was interesting.
I mean, maybe they can make it more interesting if they made it the main focus.
Yeah.
Mostly it just didn't like that character. He was my least favorite.
Oh, Vincent D'Onofrio's character?
I mean, a metaphorical mustache twirler dude. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of like the problem with a lot of movies about science. There's always like some just general, doesn't care about anything. There's always like the business, president business character.
Exactly. Yeah. Here's the reason why I didn't like him being in this movie. You already had 3 bad guys who were sympathetic. You had Aunt Clara. She was a bad guy. The helicopter pilot dude and the actual splicer dude, they were bad guys. It was all of their fault that this shit was happening due to their own ignorance and negligence. But they weren't bad people, and you could see where they were coming from, so they were compelling bad guys. They were way more interesting. And it was more realistic. That shit would totally happen, and there was a lot of finger pointing. No, you asked me to do this, and you didn't understand the consequences, but you actually did it, and you knew, and even though you're taking my orders, there was all this back and forth thing of trying to place blame when it was all of their fault. And you see that shit happen all the time.
I think there's probably some script out there while they were thinking this up where the Vincent D'Onofrio character is a lot more sympathetic, and maybe the Hollywood,
just
machine just said, it just needed, because they might have said, oh, well, it's too hard for viewers to, watch films where there isn't a clear line between good guy and bad guy.
Right, because I'm saying that they're bad guys, but they're not villainous or evil.
Yeah, because, even the first one, the fucking hacker dude, Newman, was like the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
No. Newman, that was his character's name in Seinfeld.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
You didn't say the magic word.
Ew.
Yeah.
So, on to the actual 2 protagonists, sort of. I like that it was kind of balanced between being a movie about Clara and Owen and the kids. They kind of went back and forth, but in a nice balancing way. And I thought this would be the case when I saw the trailer. I thought it was going to be scientists cook up something in a lab, and they're smart and they know what the fuck they're doing, but then all of a sudden this dude who's like an engineer or a motorcyclist or something comes in, and somehow, even though he doesn't have a science degree, he can figure out all this shit that the scientists somehow don't know, and he's gonna fix everything. I really thought that's where it was gonna go, and I was kind of cringing at the thought. Totally didn't play it off that way at all. Everything made logical sense.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a paint-by-numbers reboot sequel that would make a lot of money but not actually be good.
Right.
And I was shocked. This movie was actually good. I went in with the lowest expectations. I went in with lower expectations than you, and...
Yeah, but you weren't like Terminator Genesis low.
Oh, well, yeah, but... Here's the thing.
Or Avengers 2 low.
Oh, God.
You really didn't think Jurassic World was going to be worse than Avengers 2, did you?
No,
Pretty much every summer movie is showing up Avengers 2. Avengers 2 should be a little bit ashamed of itself, honestly.
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
As an action movie, I'm not even talking about characters or story, but in terms of action movie, boo.
Yeah, well... I think audiences will eventually get tired of, let's have a movie where nobody's in danger at all.
Right, lots of action, but no blood, nobody gets hurt.
Yeah.
That was something about this movie. There was a lot of blood and gore and very graphic deaths. It was awesome. And
characters were legitimately in danger, like the scene where the 2 kids are in the gerbil ball and they're getting bounced around, and then the monster starts chomping on the hamster ball.
Yeah, this was a movie where I was kind of gripped by it, and I had a lot of, oh my God, shocking, like, oh shit, no, like LaBuffing in my theater seat. Just
you want to watch yourself when you LaBuff, though.
Oh, you never want to go full LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Oh. But Owen's character was really cool. Yes, I am a Chris Pratt fangirl. Out of all the superheroes, he's the only one I really like because he's funny. And he doesn't look like his head's too small for his body. But mostly it's that he's actually really funny.
Well, that's also because he used to have a lot of weight on him, and then he just toned it down.
Yeah, he was cute then too, and now he looks toned, but he doesn't look like kind of inhuman. Like,
pious fool. Haha.
Yeah.
I am Thor.
Out of all the Chris's in Hollywood right now, I like him. But it's the funny thing. I like the funny. But his character was actually pretty cool. I liked him. I liked that he had a past in the Navy, but that didn't really come up a lot. Like, it made sense for his personality, but it's not like all of a sudden he was on a boat reading a radar talking about tactics. Like, he was talking about strategies that he had worked out with his Raptors, but he wasn't trying to talk like military. Like, there was a similarity there. But he wasn't literally trying to spew out military shit, you know what I mean?
He was probably an operations specialist, because an operations specialist does a lot of that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Plus, they also deal with quartermaster work, which, for many of you, you're probably thinking, what? Quartermaster? Yeah, so I was a quartermaster in the Navy, and quartermasters deal with navigation, not like quartermasters in the Army, which actually deal with logistics. So, in the Navy, the people who you would think quartermasters would be are actually called logistics specialists. So that's just a little info about the Navy. Plus, I like the fact that they didn't go way too into it too, because, hey, how much do I talk about the Navy on this podcast?
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I like the fact that they didn't talk about it. It didn't really play a part in the movie, but it was worth mentioning for his character. No. And I liked watching him train his Raptors. Like, he loves them and cares for them, but it's not like, oh, look at how cute and furry they are. Although I just about lost my shit at the dinosaur petting zoo. I want to go there so bad and ride on the Triceratops.
I think you're a little big for the Triceratops, because didn't he say...
I would just squish him. But... so cute!
Yeah, they were really adorable. And then when the pterodactyl, like, grabbed one of them, you were like, no!
Oh my god, I really was. When the pterodactyl came down, I was just like, no, not the Triceratops.
No Triceratops were hurt in this movie.
In the making of this movie? Because that Triceratops was injured.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because he was, like, pushed into the ground, and then we didn't see anything, so he's probably dead.
Yeah. Well, and you saw the picture with Steven Spielberg, like, leaning on the dead Triceratops. That's one of my favorite pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty cool pic. It looked good.
Yeah.
It looked good.
I also like the fact that there were specific scenes in this movie that looked like real puppetry was done.
Oh, Littlefoot's mother.
Yeah. The Brachiosaurus.
Yeah.
That's what they're called, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay. It's either Brontosaurus or Brachiosaurus. They're very similar. I can't remember.
All right, science nerds bitch and complain. I got them mixed up.
Yeah, I knew all the different species of dinosaur when I was a kid, but I can't... I used to know... It was kind of like crocodile and alligator. It was kind of that similar sort of difference, you know? Or like frog and toad, where like they kind of are similar... It's a little bit forgivable if you mix them up. They're not like totally separate, like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Dinosaur fighting. Yes!
Yeah, so I got super excited when they brought back the T-Rex from Jurassic Park, which somehow managed to live through all of this stuff.
Well, we don't know if it's the same one.
Okay, well, I'm going to assume that it is the same... Is. It is the same T-Rex that attacked the Raptors and saved the kids in Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what we were supposed to think of, for sure. There were a lot of nice homages to that. And also, I really like the King Kong homages at the very beginning. But this was a movie that, as opposed to the quote-unquote Godzilla movie that came out last year, which I will bitch and rant about when we talk about it next weekend. This movie actually used the Jaws idea correctly. This is how you pull it off. And this is how you make it worth your while and not make your audience fucking frustrated. The Jaws effect in this movie was awesome, and it paid off well. The dinosaur was awesome.
So the trick for a Jaws effect to work is to reveal little bits and pieces and then have a reveal. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Godzilla movie that came out last summer did something differently, where you introduce a character and then you tease him the rest of the movie.
Right, and don't show fight scenes and... we'll bitch more about that another time when we actually talk about the movie again, but in the meantime, Jurassic World.
Which I will say, in my personal opinion, since the original Jurassic Park, because I do think the original is a little bit better than this one, but since the original Jurassic Park, this is probably the best kaiju movie that we've had.
Although,
I did like the Peter Jackson King Kong.
Oh, yeah. The King Kong was okay. To me, it's not comparable to the original, though. I know effects, though, but no, it's not. And Pacific Rim was also good. Even if you don't like the human crap in it, there was a lot of kaiju, and it was a lot of fun watching the kaiju fight. And that's really all I want, with big, giant monsters eating each other up. They never eat each other up. That would be cool. But big monsters fighting. I want to see it. I want to have a lot of it. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, and I was actually going into this movie with the expectation that this movie was going to suck. The characters were going to suck. But the monsters were going to be cool. And I could enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
The movie didn't do that. The movie actually had compelling characters. Minus the older brother, who I thought was the most boring character in the movie.
No, there was a reason for that. He's a fucking teenager. I'm sorry, but you see that kid every day.
I know.
Just like...
But what the fuck is up with today's teenagers? Yes, I am talking like an old person right now. But like, they're so fucking like zoned out. Like, I see them all the time. Their parents fucking speak for them. They fucking have this dead fucking look on their face. Like, dude... It drives me fucking wild. If you're one of these people, get out there, talk to people. Like, I'm sick and tired of the fucking face that doesn't move. Like, dude, I understand that robots do not exist as people. This isn't Battlestar Galactica. But holy shit, move your fucking face!
So, this character hit the nail right on the head. The character did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it was all about bringing him out of that zone, to sort of snap him awake and make him realize his familial connection to his brother.
I'm gonna check out my cell phone with my girlfriend. Oh, wait, there's some hot chicks. Look, there's another hot chick. Oh, but I'm not gonna talk to her. And I love when the brother fucking calls him out on her.
It's just like, what do you think's gonna happen when all you do is stare at him and all the girls heard him and laughed at him? That was funny. That was really funny. But I like that kid was perfect. I'm not talking about the actor, I'm talking about the writing. That was the correct way to write a kid that age, who has an interest in dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying like this is every kid that age, but I'm so sick and tired of kids being props. I hate that. But I also hate it when kids are written either as infants, who are like 8, 9, 10 years old.
Like, oh my god, this is so awesome, blah, 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 blah.
No, it's not even like that. They always talk like with like grawly words, like, Daddy, I'm tired. It's like, you're 9 years old. What 9-year-old talks like that? And I'm looking at you, Criminal Minds. Or they go the Fred Savage route where they're really tiny, perfect adults. It's like, come on, dude. So he actually was in that sweet spot.
Like a Haley Joel Osment?
Yeah. But he was in that sweet spot of being a kid and still having that wonder, that awe, that interest, and that like really childish quality, and not really understanding some things and being upset by things like the parents' divorce. Never came into the story, but I thought that was great to put in there. I thought that was awesome that they added that. But he's also smart. He knows what the hell he's talking about. He learned all these things about dinosaurs because that's what you do when you're 8. When I was 8, I talked just like him, where I knew all these different things about science and biology and the way that, you know, all the different species of dinosaurs. So he was really well written. Awesome. There's one character we haven't talked about, though, who's pretty much the protagonist, sort of. I mean, it's pretty equal with the 4 of them, but we haven't talked about Clara very much. Is that her name, Clara?
I think so. Clara, played by Bryce Dallas Howard. and not Jessica Chastain. Like, holy fucking shit. Like, you know, what? You mix two redheads that look very different from each other.
Yeah, their faces aren't the same. Their hair color's not even that similar.
Their acting chops are miles apart.
Her acting was good in this movie, though.
Yeah, and normally, like, I just find her annoying. Like, in Spider-Man 3, good God, was she terrible.
Well, but Spider-Man 3.
But she's been in a lot of stuff that's, like, been fucking terrible. I did like her in The Village, which is a movie that everybody fucking hates, but I thought she was good in it. Mm-hmm. So, that might go into an episode where we talk about movies that everybody hates that we like, but yeah.
I liked her character a lot because she sort of had to adjust from being this corporate head of science, and you know, they put a lot of focus on her heels, which worked for her development.
She had the strongest fucking heels ever. How the fuck did those not break?
Not get stuck in the mud. Like, how? Yeah.
And that could have been an interesting plot point. Too.
Dude, she was running in heels. Like, dude. But anyway, I thought she was really interesting because she was right on that good line of being capable but not being an unrealistic badass, because that would have made no sense for her character. But she wasn't scared and timid, although she did kind of hide behind Chris Pratt once, which was funny. But, you know, when it came up to it, she didn't give a shit about her clothes. She never cared about that. And when it came down to it, she, you know, could grab a gun and fucking shoot someone or hit somebody, or she could drive a truck. You know, she's not like Buffy the Vampire Slayer out of nowhere for no reason, but she was capable. Yeah. I thought that was really good decision making.
Yeah, like she does what she needs to do to survive.
Right.
Versus, you know, all of a sudden, you know, fucking Sarah Connor becomes the Sarah Connor in the second movie literally in one day. Right. Which wouldn't make fucking sense.
Right. But there was sort of a thing of she has to look a certain way for her work, but she doesn't really care about it. She was never like, oh, I chipped a nail. You know what I mean? She was just like, this means I'm ready.
Yeah, because good God, do we not want another woman from Temple of Doom?
Doom. I was thinking the same thing.
Oh my God. She was even worse than Short Round. Oh, yeah. God.
I thought it was really odd that they were trying to push that she was cold. Because I get the social pressure of, oh, well, you should be wanting to have kids, not if, when, blah, blah, blah. Because girls get that sort of shit from their family. They just do. I remember I was 8, 9 when my grandmother started pressuring me to have a boyfriend, and I was like, no. I'm running around playing outside. What do I want a boyfriend? Yeah, I know, right? It's fucking weird. Mm. But, you know, family has unrealistic expectations like that. They don't really know what's going on. So I get that, but then she's criticized by like 2 of these people she works with, Wash from Firefly and Owen.
Okay, so when she's talking about Wash from Firefly, she's talking about...
It's Wash from Firefly, but he's played by a different actor. It's not Alan Tudyk, but he's written like Wash, and he has the little dinosaur toy. He's Wash. He's just played by the only decent actor from New Girl. And
he was also in the director of this movie's first film.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. But she's criticized for being cold, like she can't understand that animals have feelings and she treats them like products. I disagree with a lot of criticism of like, oh, well, you're trying to say that women are cold and unfeeling. No, it's because she's a corporate sellout.
Yeah.
It's not because she's a woman. It's because she's a corporate sellout, because that's what a lot of the movie was about.
Right. Yeah, this, like we said before, this movie takes this idea of, oh, let's make another Jurassic Park movie, and, you know, kind of makes fun of it at the same time. Like, the guy, he had the Jurassic Park shirt, and people said it was in bad taste. And it's interesting, too, because this is the first time the park has ever been open.
No,
because
it's been open for a while.
No, but, like, this is the first time in a movie the park has been open. Because in Jurassic Park, the park wasn't open. It was like a preview to the world.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. You know, like, the park was getting ready to open.
Well, they would have had merch and shit like that.
Yeah, of course, they did in the movie.
No, but I'm saying, like, they would have had Jurassic Park merch.
Right.
They would have.
Yeah, he said he got it off of, like, eBay or something like that.
Yeah, like, that would totally happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was... I also like the fact that a lot of the dialogue worked. I don't know if it was because it was written very well, like, it was written that well, or if there was some just really good direction. But a lot of these ideas, like, when we say it out loud, like, oh, he was making fun of corporate sponsorships of dinosaurs, saying, like, oh, Pepsi dinosaur. That sounds bad, but it totally felt natural.
Yeah.
Most of it felt really natural.
What was it, the Pepsisaurus? Or
the Pepsisaurus, he said something funny like that.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
But a lot of the more awkward dialogue and the one-liners were written, I think it was that they were written to be a little bit more natural sounding than, you know, the Intimidation game where it's like, they leveled up. It talks like that.
You don't mean the Intimidation game. You're talking about...
the Law and Order SVU episode was called The Intimidation Game.
Okay,
that was the name of the episode.
The Intimidation Game is a different movie about...
I mean, it was called Intimidation Game, not The Intimidation Game, but yeah. But, you know, really
Alan Turing.
awkward.
That's what the Alan Turing movie is called.
Yeah. A lot of one-liners could have been really stupid, and you could have made a lot of really dumb dinosaur puns, but a lot of it actually felt more natural. There was one... What was the one line Chris Pratt said? I was kind of surprised that it wasn't something stupid. It's that scene where they're in the container with the new dinosaur, and we're looking down on him, and he said something about, like, I'm trying to remember, he had a one-liner, it was in the trailer.
Oh. Doesn't sound like a good idea.
No.
That one?
No. I can't remember, maybe we'll edit this part out, but I was just like, wow, they could have said something really stupid there, but that actually felt kind of like the thing to say.
So overall, what are your impressions of the movie? What were some of your favorite parts? What were some of your least favorite parts? And what did you think of the whole movie?
Well, I'm happy that we went from Ex Machina to Mad Max to Jurassic World. Like, I'm feeling pretty good about this year. And it's just not getting to be July. So I was happy with the caliber of movie that this was. I really enjoyed the script, the acting, the direction, the effects especially. Very good stuff. I liked a lot of the themes and the messages. A lot of the humor was really good because it wasn't too slapsticky and it wasn't too just like, dude, come on, unrealistic sort of thing. But mostly, I think I really enjoyed the main crew of the four of them. They worked together really well. They had a nice blend of humor and realism, and they sort of tapped into different parts of, things that I could relate to in people.
Yeah. So, I personally really liked the Raptors.
Oh my god, the Raptors were so cool.
Blue...
I love Raptors. Those are my favorite.
Okay,
Raptors are my favorite dinosaur.
I like the fact that my favorite dinosaur was in the movie. Mm-hmm. My favorite dinosaur never gets the time of day, and from what I've heard, it might not even exist. The Stegosaurus.
Yeah, what?
I've read somewhere that like the Stegosaurus isn't a real dinosaur, but
like the way Pluto's not a real planet, or what?
No, I don't know. I have to look up the information again. But
Stegosauruses are cool.
Yeah, I really like them if they exist. But
they can't exist at Jurassic World though.
Oh yeah, because they could totally genetically engineer them, and they might have genetically engineered all the dinosaurs to look like how you'd expect dinosaurs to look like and not have the feathers.
But they did they said that in the movie. They said very specifically you didn't want realism. You wanted it to look cool. These dinosaurs don't look the way that they used to because we've been messing with them to make it look the way that we're designing them to look. They said that very explicitly, which was awesome because I think all the nerds in the audience probably just went, oh my god, they know!
Okay.
I was definitely like that. I was like, oh my god, you understand.
I think, did they say it on the helicopter ride?
No, it was the scientist dude and the helicopter pilot dude were talking to each other because they were fighting about, like, how did you make this creature and how could this happen and how does it have a... There was a lot of finger pointing and
I need to watch that part again because, like,
that was a very well written scene.
I don't mean to sound bad or anything like that, but I did have a hard time understanding his accent at some points. Yeah, it's just I understood him for most of the movie, but there were a couple parts where. But
he was the one who was saying it. It was the scientist in the turtleneck. I think his name was actually Dr. Wu. I think that's what his name was.
Oh. Yeah, I remember what you're talking about now. It was just, part of me has to say, like, I'm not used to watching movies that, like, add a lot of meat to them, like, within the context of the film. Mm-hmm. Usually it's something that I gather while watching the movie. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, this movie's going to require multiple viewings. Not to understand it, but to, you know, get on some of this stuff. And plus, you know... I got so wrapped up with how much other stuff that I loved about it that I didn't remember, like, every single, like, little part.
I remember that scene because that was one of my favorite scenes.
Okay.
When they actually talked about the science and the design and all this stuff. That was really cool.
I think during that scene, I was getting popcorn thrown at me.
Oh, so, yeah.
So
I did not have a good experience in the theater because there were these obnoxious children behind us. They were like maybe 6 or 7, like, kicking the seats and throwing popcorn, like.
Yeah, so I actually got distracted during part of the movie and had to move because the minute they started, the minute I saw that it was intentional, was the minute I left because I didn't want to create a scene and there was enough room.
Yeah, we had to be those assholes who relocated in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, at the same time, which would you rather have? And yeah, because quite frankly, if somebody treats me like that in the movie theater, I'm going to do something to get out away from it, or I'm going to address it. It might even mean that I have to miss part of the movie.
Right, but our row was also filled. Like, we couldn't have just scooted down a few seats. Like, there were people... Right. On all sides. We were in the popular row. So. Yeah, so sometimes bad theater experiences happen. Yeah.
And if you have a bad experience, please let us know, because we like hearing from you when you actually respond.
Oh, come on. Don't guilt trip an audience. It's mean.
So, my favorite part of the movie was when we saw the T-Rex come back. Like,
that was pretty cool.
I wasn't expecting that, and I was really excited.
I have to say there were 2 parts that really stuck out to me. One was the fact that I actually liked the raptor hunting pack scene. Because a lot of people preemptively make fun of that, including me. I was just like, dude, what the fuck? He doesn't even know raptors. And he's just... But they're his animals. He's been with them for a long time. It made sense. And it was cool. You know, he's part of the pack. It was cool. But one thing that really stood out to me was the opening. It felt so period. Of the E.T. Jurassic Park time with the raptors breaking out of the eggshells. I loved it. And then you see the dinosaur paw just crash into the earth with this big thud. And it's just like it's a fucking crow. That was so good. I love that whole opening thing before we get into the house. I love that.
One of the things that one of my film teachers told me was Steven Spielberg is a better producer than he is a director. And I think this reflects it in a way, because that feels like a very Spielberg moment. Yeah. Like, there were several moments that felt like Spielberg moments, which means that as a producer, he might have the studio hand that comes in to, you know, control certain scenes, because certain scenes felt more Spielberg than I think the director of Safety Not Guaranteed was capable of.
Well, part of it, too, is Spielberg just might be one of those people who's better at fixing other people's ideas than coming up with his own, because there are definitely people like that, and the creative industries need people like that.
Right.
That's really imperative to have.
Especially if you're going to have fucking reboots and sequels and all that kind of shit, those are the type of people you want.
Right. I think part of the reason why this movie did have a certain sense of realism to it, with all the fantasy and action and all that, is the very Spielberg stuff of there are certain personal storylines that don't play into the plot, but are there and are discussed and affect characters, but not plots. But it doesn't feel like, well, where are you taking us? It's just something that gives you some meat and some depth and actually makes people feel like real people. Like the scene where they're talking about the divorce, yeah, it comes up that one time and it's never talked about again, so big-lipped alligator moments. But for real, I could totally picture an 8-year-old being out having a great time, having a moment to reflect, and then suddenly breaking down because he's realized that when he comes back home, his parents aren't going to be together. That, and then him having to relate to his brother and the way that their dynamic worked when they had that scene felt just like that would happen. Totally would happen.
Well, yeah, and Steven Spielberg movies have to deal with, usually families of single parents.
Right. And
and parents that have split up, because that's what he experienced. Mm-hmm. And we saw a little bit of it in this movie. Granted, the parents were never split.
They weren't split, but they were splitting because he mentioned it, but then there was also the scene at the airport where as soon as the kids were out of earshot, they started fighting.
Has Spielberg made a movie where the characters were splitting instead of...
Split or... Yeah. I don't think so.
They're either together or they're split, right?
But it was really interesting because you don't really need to see how that plays out. It's not important to the story, but it's important to the characters.
Well, and it's also adding another layer.
Exactly. It's just something... You don't need a lot of it. You just need a little bit.
Well, and one of the things that I complain about with a lot of modern movies is it seems a lot of times that characters did not have a life outside of the movie.
Exactly. You put your finger right on it. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, these characters feel like they actually exist instead of like, oh, hey, we're checking out this cool park, and then all of a sudden, blah, blah, blah. And then there's this, raptor guy that, he wrangles raptors, and then he saves the day.
Yeah, they're not like these paper-thin construct plot devices. They feel more like people.
Because if a corporate studio made this movie without any of the intellectual stimulation that this movie got, that's what this movie would be.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And honestly, it's part of the reason why I tend to be really averse to romance in media is because they have to throw it into fucking everything. And there are some times where I swear to God, the leads look at each other and they're like, oh, so you're a protagonist, I'm a protagonist, I guess we're gonna have to hook up, and okay. And it's just like, it doesn't make any sense. In fact, I definitely had that feeling. That scene totally happened in the remake of Footloose. They just looked at each other and kind of like, okay, I guess we'll make out by the time this is over, because really, Ren should have gone out for her best friend, that shit, because they had way more in common.
But this Ren has a lot more sense when it comes to that sort of thing. Just have to say that.
Yeah. And this is one of the few times where I could actually buy into the romance a little bit, mostly because it wasn't overplayed and it wasn't a big thing. But I could kind of get, oh yeah, they wouldn't really work together, but after being in a chaotic situation, they want to smack on each other a little bit, cool, whatever.
Yeah, so,
especially because they both he kind of proved he was smart enough for her, and she proved that she was tough enough for him. Like, they kind of had they realized they had a little bit more compatibility without it being an overdrawn, melodramatic, will they, won't they? Ew. No. I did totally say ew when they kissed, though. I was just like, ew.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed this movie. If you haven't seen this movie and you listen to the whole thing and you don't mind spoilers, I guess, go out and see this movie. You'll have a good time. And if you're somebody who's really nitpicky about movies, now granted, we do know some people that are a little too nitpicky about movies, but we do encourage this movie.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of the better movies that came out this year, for sure.
Yeah. So thanks for listening.